called Thomas. I'm the instructor or the facilitator for the firefighting at STC College, the Shipping and Transport College. I do the firefighting, and as I mentioned, I prepare students for the maritime industry. And being in the maritime industry for a very long time, I speak of experience and also try to hand down that knowledge to them so that when they do come across any situation that they need the skill, I trust that they will be able to do it. Also, fires on board is extremely dangerous, and I prepare them for the scenario that they may face. We also try to make it as realistic as possible, knowing that fires on board a vessel is always dangerous. And once they are prepared here, we send them out into the industry, and once they come on board, they'll be able to identify situations that are potential fire hazards. They are able to fight fires on their own and also in a team. So realistically, when we go down to the simulator, it is extremely hot. It is only a little taste of what they could experience when they do come across a real fire or experience a real fire on board the vessel.
Don't forget, 65 millimeter volume, pressure that way, pressure back.
And we try as far as possible to assist them wherever their shortcomings are or the gaps are that they need to understand that the industry itself is a dangerous one, and there are many, many hazards, especially fires. There are many places where our students will be participating in, will be the engine room, the galley, all those areas, and those are potential fire hazards which they should know, and we try to instill in them the importance of recognition, of recognizing a fire when they see it, or a potential hazard, as I mentioned earlier. So yes, my job is very rewarding, preparing young students, making their careers at sea. I've had my fill. I now impart my knowledge that I know and the experience that I have onto them, and making them absolute awesome seafarers.
There's what?
The course begins with the theory. Without understanding the theory, obviously the rest of the course won't mean anything. And we teach them the basics of fire, what it's all about, how it starts, how it escalates, and also the causes of fire. Those are the things that we need to understand, the basics of firefighting. That is what we teach here, so that they can understand and make a comparison to when we do the simulator. They understand what the process is, how a fire will start, how it will grow, when it is out of control, and what to do in the process. So that is what we teach in the classroom. We also teach them how to use the breathing apparatus, which is very important, and it's a vital tool to have when you're doing firefighting, because if you're on board and there's a fire, you have thick black smoke, plenty of heat, steam, fear, adrenaline, all those things wrapped into one. And when we teach them how to use it, we try as far as possible, or I try as far as possible to break it down for them when they do panic, what to do in that situation and how to overcome it once fear has set in. Because it is extremely frightening when you are confronted with a situation that is extremely hot and extremely stressful. You need to be calm, and that is what I try to instill in them. Well done, guys. Well done. Do not connect up here. I will do that. Do not connect. So by the time we leave the classroom, the theory of how fires start, the basics of fire, so by the time we get to the simulator, they will know how to operate, what causes the fire, how it can be put out, and to the very end, where they have to use the BA sets, their breathing apparatus, to enter a hot zone, and then the stress of being hot, plenty of steam, plenty of stress on them. Once they are in that situation, that is when the training that we've provided in the classroom basically takes effect. And it's that calming situation that you bring to them so that they understand that they are going to be okay. They don't have to fear anything. If they do, and they follow the instructions and just carry out what they were taught. And yes, I know it's not easy. Once you go into the simulator, all that theory goes out the window because fear and adrenaline takes over. But the calming effect that the team has on each other, that is the most important thing. In our simulator situation, we have 3 fires going. We have one on entry, you have a fire there. Then on board a vessel, you cannot enter the vessel from the side. You have to do a top descent, meaning you have to go from the top down into the accommodation area or to wherever the fire is. So we teach the importance of not being overcome by steam, by fighting the fire from below and then still have to enter that area. What we do is, the moment I enter the simulator, I train them to put out the fires that have been started above, to completely extinguish that fire, knowing that when you leave that area, that fire won't reignite. So we make absolutely sure that we teach them that they need to put out the fires and then proceed down. So what we train the students to do, there are 2 things that they need to understand and they need to carry out. Firstly is the role of the support team and then the role of the attack team. They need to be interchanged. They need to understand what both roles are. They need to play a multi-role. In the event of an injury where one of the attack team has been injured, they need to fill that gap. So what happens is that we have 2 scenarios. Firstly, we have the attack team that is preparing to go attack the fire. Then we have our support team. They do everything from rolling out the hoses to setting up the fire pump to preparing the attack team to enter. That doesn't end there. So the attack team then goes up. The fires are lit inside the simulator. The support team then forms the role of giving the hoses, supplying the hoses, and supplying water, ensuring that there is no shortage of water once you are inside. The attack team then takes over. On entry, we have a huge carbonaceous fire, meaning it is wood. It is a wood fire that is burning extremely hot. Now you have to take into account that in the simulator it is steel, and steel maintains heat for a very long time. So once the steel is heated up because of the flame and the fire inside, we have to now douse that flame, put it out via the attack team. While this is all happening, the support team, and this will be part of the students as well, they are supporting them by feeding the hose, pulling the hose out for whatever reason or whatever the attack team requires. We then put that fire out because we need to enter. And once you entered, you need to put out that fires and then proceed. So the attack team would then put out the first fire. So on board a vessel, you can only descend from the top because obviously the sides, you have the sea on either side. So there is a certain protocol that you have to follow by doing a top descent. And bearing in mind that you have a fire in the accommodation area, and this is what we try to simulate. So when you do the descent, you need to understand that there is hot air, hot gases that is emanating from the bottom, coming all the way to the top, which is going to burn you, and we have to ensure that you don't put the fire out before you go down, because you need to put that fire out. And this is what we try to instill in the students, that they understand the importance of not creating steam. The steam, as they are descending down the ladder, would definitely scold them as they descend with the steam coming up. So we train them that when one or two of them are down, they do not open up the water, because you have the other team members coming down to join them down there. They will be standing ready with their hoses, waiting for the rest of the team members to arrive. And once they are all present, now we start fighting that fire. We knock out that fire and make sure that it is put out correctly, and it is not, by the way, the bottom one will also be a carbonaceous fire, which will be a wood fire that will be creating lots and lots of heat. The area that we move around in is very small, so which creates a lot of heat. Over and above that, to the right of the simulator, you'll have a gas fire. We need to explain to the students and make it clear to them that a gas fire, if you put water on a gas fire and you extinguish that fire, you still have gas escaping from there. Add that to the fire that was just burning now, there is heat, and all the potential of reignition of that fire could take place. So we try to instill in them that we need to cool the fire down. By doing that, we cool down the thermal layer. The thermal layer is formed when your hot air rises, your hot gases rise up against the deckhead, and it can go no more, it drops down. So by the students cooling down the thermal layer, it also cools down the entire area.
Beautiful. Okay, now, listen to me. You're going to count just four. Yeah. This is water into the far corner, okay? Up into the thermal layer, all right? Okay, do it now. Into the thermal, not the drop of water on the fire, okay? Do it now. Right? Yeah. Look where I am. No. I want you to go in a 35 degree angle in the room. That's all over the room. That's it. Do it now. Do it now. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, guys. You are now pulling the thermal layer. Bring it out. You are pulling the thermal layer. Can you feel the difference in temperature? Thank you. Into the corner. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. Are you the last person? Move it out. Come, move it out. I want you to do it right. Okay, beautiful. You go upstairs. Watch your eyes upstairs. And you just the ladder, you follow me. Guys, can you feel the difference in the temperature now?
Once that is put out, we then exit all the way up again, cool down the entire area, because that is the protocol that has to follow, and this is what we try to instill in them and try to embed in their minds the importance of cooling down the entire area. What we try to instill in the students is making absolutely sure that they follow the protocol of cooling down the entire area, of dosing it down. Cooling is important because they need to understand that steel, especially on board a vessel, maintains that heat for a very, very long time. And by them knowing the protocol that once it's cooled down, they have to do the boundary cooling, they have to keep that area shut for 24 hours or longer, and put in place a fire watch which boundary cools that area continuously until such time that the area is completely cool and it can then be ventilated at a later stage. As I mentioned, from day one, we will do theory and we will also do practical. With the practical will take part of the students knowing exactly which fire extinguisher to use on which type of fire. We instill in them not only through theory, but by practice. So we go back to the simulators and we make fires and we allow them to put it out themselves. So it is not just a whole lot of mumbo jumbo being pumped into their heads. They also get to experience and put the fires out them. They extinguish the fires themselves. And this is the part where we find that the students latch onto that and start enjoying it, because the fear of fire, when you mention fire to the students, they start to panic. But once they find that they are able to extinguish the fire out on their own, obviously with my supervision, that is when they start gaining confidence. So that would be the first day. The second day, we would prepare them again, some theory, and then take them onto the fire ground. Then we will teach them how to roll out hoses, how to roll up the hoses, and the care for the firefighting equipment that they're using. That is of utmost importance, because if it is just left haphazardly, obviously it will not serve you when you need it the most. So that is the second day. The third day, what we do is the practical, which we call Friday. It is actually on a Wednesday, but it's called Friday with a Y. Because when you enter there, it is extremely hot. So the scenario that takes place, we try to do as realistic as possible to instill in them the use of all Monday, Tuesday, and on the practical day, that they bring it all into one, and they are able to then go into that simulator with confidence, and also know that whatever they were taught, they are able to carry out physically and practically, and it's all hands-on. At the end of that, we do our exams. We also issue them with their certificates. If they have passed their exams, then they have 2 modules that they have to do. Is firstly the practical. They have to write on the practical, and they are also assessed on the theory. They are assessed on the theory part of firefighting, and then lastly on the practical component. So there are 2 components that they have to fulfill, and once they fulfill that and satisfactorily completed that, they are then issued with their certificates, and I am actually confident that when they leave here, they are extremely competent, knowing that I'm able to fight a fire if ever I come across one.